Greetings and welcome to Trinity Radio Extra. I'm Jonathan Pritchett, and today we're asking the question, is it okay to celebrate the 4th of July? After all, it is the 4th of July weekend, and what better way to kick off Trinity Radio Extra than to talk about the 4th of July? Now, every year at Christmas, it never fails that Christians will find their social media feeds filled with well-intending but somewhat stupid claims that Christmas is a pagan holiday and that Christmas trees are pagan symbols. And the same thing, of course, happens on Easter and, of course, around Halloween time. If you dare to dress your kids up in silly costumes and take them door to door to get something like candy, you're engaging in devil worship of all things. But, of course, thoughtful Christians understand that this is mostly just nonsense. However, on the 4th of July, something similar happens. Our feeds get filled with, this weekend Christians are going to engage in America idolatry. And heaven forbid if your church decides to sing patriotic songs every now and then, or wants to display an American flag or something like that. That's way beyond the pale. Of course, that is also nonsense. Thoughtful Christians should recognize that that this is kind of silly. It is true, in an extreme sense, that some things can become idols in your lives. But being excited or passionate or enthusiastic or interested in something does not an idol make. Not usually, okay? In fact, it's, I think, healthy to love your country, for example. You can actually love America and still, beyond that, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. You can love football and watch football after church. You can even go to the early church service so that you can get home to watch football and still love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Just like you can commute to work in your car and simultaneously love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Doing something else is not loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. These things are not mutually exclusive. And of course, the people who want to point out all of this idolatry, they never get too specific. They just say something like, the American church is idolatrous about X, Y, or Z. They never get too specific, because if they were to ever say that you have a problem with idolatry, they would never be able to prove it just because you're excited about something. And if you were to find something that they were excited or passionate about, you could make the same baseless accusation against them. So my idea and suggestion about all this is stop making those kinds of claims unless you actually have real evidence for this. Now, America has some very dark moments in its history. But the history of America is not all wicked. In fact, America has been one of the greatest forces for good in the world in the history of the world. And America, there is much to celebrate, especially in its founding ideals, even when America in its past, including at its founding, did not always live up to those ideals. Likewise, the Christian church has a very dark history. Okay? And the church has not always lived up to the ideals of Christ himself. But yet, as Christians, we still participate in the body of Christ, the church, and we still honor Christ with our lives. You yourself, Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. You yourself are not perfect. But unless you're a part of a weird Christian cult or something like the Jehovah's Witnesses, we actually think that your birthday is worth celebrating. You are made in the image of God. And even though you have sinned and fallen short of living up to the glory of the God whose image you bear, the fact that you are bearing his image, the fact that you are able to have the capacity for reason and a robust conscious experience, and the fact that you can express emotions such as jubilance and joy, as well as grief, anger, and sorrow. You are a beautiful creature. You are worth celebrating just for having been born. So one does not have to be perfect. A person or a nation doesn't have to be perfect to celebrate its birth. So, should you celebrate the 4th of July? I don't know if you should or not. But is it okay to celebrate the 4th of July? Absolutely. And if you do, I hope that, despite all of the chaos that's going on in the world, I hope that you do have a happy 4th of July weekend. This is the first election year that I can remember where I've not heard anyone say from either political party that if X candidate loses or if X candidate wins, I'm going to move to Y country. Because in times past, in various election years, every time people make those claims, almost no one ever does move. Why? Because everyone knows deep down that America is awesome. And so it's okay to love America, even when America isn't always at its best. America, like Christians, are a work in progress. So let us work towards progress, but still celebrate the founding ideals of America, which are worth celebrating even when America fails to live up to them. So in the spirit of celebration, for those of you who are going to, despite all of the chaos that's going on in the world, try to have a good weekend. I hope that you do. So stay safe, have fun, and God bless the United States of America.